morning or no, afternoon.
Yes,
How are you?
good afternoon. Let me make the screen big. I'm so knackered today.
I'm not surprised. When you told me last week what your work plan was, I was thinking, that sounds a little bit tiring.
And I thought, oh, it could be fine because it's not like every hour of the day, and I've got a few hours in between and stuff, and it's so not fine. I'm so physically knackered from the garden centre and mentally and emotionally knackered from the workshop. You forget how much it takes out of you just to hold so many people for a set amount of time. It's tiring. So I have, after I speak to you on Friday, that is it. I've got 2 quick workstations next Monday afternoon. But other than that, next week it's just garden centre and me. So soon, I just need to hang in there. One more workshop this afternoon, and then 2 more garden centre days, and then I'm done.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Not that I'm suggesting you do, but if you had to pick the garden centre or the workshops, which would you pick? If someone had a gun to your head and said you're not allowed to be able to do both. Sorry.
Yeah. Just, go in there. Just first question, bam, while I'm down. They're both very different. I think long-term garden centre, which is interesting. I like the physicalness. I like being outdoors. I like being surrounded by beauty. There's lots of things I don't like, or they irritate me, customers and things like that. But I suppose with the garden centre, when I come home, that's it. Whereas workshops and occupational therapy, as you know, when you're self-employed, it's your own business and it's back of your mind the whole time. So even when I don't have workshops or talks or things, it's the constant, I call it hustling, but that might be a negative term, hustling for more work, or it's kind of, you don't get to switch off, whereas the garden centre, I can come home, switch off, and then concentrate on, then I've got free time for pottery or home, or to go to the chickens or whatever. Yeah.
What if you were to switch off from, and I totally understand what you're saying, I'm not saying it's not valid, but what if you were to switch off from the desk job, the day job, the self-employed job?
Yeah, and I did sort of subconsciously think about it this morning. You know how you asked me to construct my days? And I was thinking I probably need to do less distractions, more focus, and not let it be 24/7, Monday to Sunday kind of thinking. And then I have gone through this before with myself. If I'm more structured, when this is when I'm working and then that's when I'm not, then it works a bit easier. So I suppose I could switch off, and I have at times switched off. It's just as you know, it is difficult when it's your own business and you've got to keep on hustling for work, or
When you said you have switched off, when have you done that, and how has that been possible?
So when I first started this a few years ago, I would, be looking at emails and work emails or queries from a potential client at like 7 on a Saturday night, and I'd be thinking about a reply, or even getting a reply together that I could just shoot off on Monday morning. Now I don't do that anymore. And I kind of have my hours where I will respond to work, and out of those hours then it's me time. So if I'm stricter about that, it does work.
Okay, so that sounds good. So are you being strict at the moment?
No, I think what happened was, I think this whole tiredness comes from not necessarily just this week, but last weekend I worked. Or am I working this weekend? I'm so confused. What's
You
today?
worked last
Tuesday.
weekend because I know
Yeah,
you told
last
me.
weekend I worked, and the weekend before that, I spent the Saturday and Sunday still working on the material for the workshops. And that is probably has been my undoing from 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, that I didn't have that break of these are my days, and then Monday we start again, because I hadn't delivered the workshop before. Although, like we say, I had the information, I just had to pull it together. But everything takes a bit longer than you think, and I didn't want the week to start off on an unsure foot, and I was delivering that last Monday, so I kind of felt I had to work the weekend. And so maybe in the future I could plan my time better, to know that I've only got between, during the week to complete the material, and that I definitely have the Saturday and Sunday off. I mean, I was so conscious of it that I did say to myself, I'm stopping at 3 on Sunday, and there's a online yoga group I want to do, and then the rest of the evening is mine. And I was very proud of that decision, but it wasn't enough. I did do it.
Yeah.
I did do it, even though my plans were a bit waylaid in the morning and I didn't start working on the material till later. I still stuck to switching off at 3, and that's it. But it wasn't enough, I think.
Okay, so I mean, you're right, and I'm glad you said I was proud of myself that you recognise what you did that worked. When is the future starting?
God, you're just coming at me with all guns blazing this morning. Whoa! I love it. I'm joking, of course. Keep the questions coming. Yeah, the future is a weird thing. The future has to start now, really. The future is now. The future is now. Yes, I don't really know what else to say about that.
That's good. That's good, because today is building as ever. We're doing this layering thing. It's kind of following up on from what we did on Friday, which was looking at, we talked about non-negotiables, and it's revisiting and keep on revisiting, a perfect day in the life. Like, what does your perfect day look like? And it's not the old-fashioned, it's not the old, oh, well, I'd take the day off and I'd have lunch here, and that's not it. It's a perfect day you live in. Not a day you travel to at some point in the future. It's the day you live in. And it's just, diving in deeper, getting in amongst the cracks and the nooks.
Yeah, I think I really need to think more on it. And because I've been busy, I haven't had as much time to reflect on our talks in the last even 10 days, really. So there's probably been 3 sessions that I haven't had time I would have liked to have reflected, sat down, written and stuff, and be working out on what your day wants to look like. It's really, remember we spoke about the yes no, and it was a really strong yes no, and then later you work out the creases really of how that's going to happen. And I looked at that this morning, at that video. I just saw the yes, and I didn't actually look at it, have time to look at it again. But instantly I had this thought that, and I've said it before, I think, with the goats, less so the alpacas. The goats were Chris's idea. I love them because I love animals, and everybody knows I love animals, but I'm not connected to them like I am to my cat or my chickens, because that is what I really wanted. The other animals just came into my life because that's how, that's how it is. And in that split millisecond, I didn't even have time to consciously thought of it. I thought the goats are a no. I don't want the responsibility or the duty of them in my life. And then I felt immediate sick and panic because Chris loves the goats and he wanted the goats and we can't possibly not. And then in the next millisecond, I remembered we can iron out the creases later, but just plant that. It's funny because the seed has been planted before. I've planted that seed myself, but I don't really want to have to deal with that conversation, or I've tried to. Maybe, maybe we move the goats on now before we even get to Spain, instead of waiting another 2 years till we go to Spain. And that's just an example. I don't know if it's a silly example or not, but that's a very practical example of, if I really think of what I want my day to look like, and if I want to be selfish about it, and it feels selfish if I think of getting rid of the goats. If I'm really honest, if it was just me, I would be so streamlined. It would be chickens, cats, pottery, and work, and that would be it, But I'm in a relationship, committed relationship, and it's give and take, and it's a bit of both. Although I did think in the bathroom when I was combing my hair, getting ready for you, thinking, I wonder if Chris would feel the same love and intensity about the goats if he did the feeding and the cleaning out all the time and didn't have help doing it, whether he would feel as enamored by the goats as what he thinks he is now.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's part of this conversation about what your day looks like, but I suppose maybe I have subconsciously been thinking about it, that there's just things in my day that are not of my choosing to do, but they need to be done, and they've always just fallen under compromise and partnership, because that's also part of it. We can't have what we only want all the time, with friendships, with family, with life isn't roses all the time. Sometimes you've got to do stuff that you don't like that much, and it's also not the end of the world.
Well, maybe not. I think the interesting thing that we come back to is, and I'm going to share something with you at the end of this that I think you might find really interesting, but this is really common. So do you remember when you decided that you would not get up? Like you said to him, no, not doing it. And he reacted differently to how you expected. He was much, you kind of thought you might get a bit of
I thought I'd get pushback.
So you have experience, not that we can ever predict what anyone will ever say or think or do, but nonetheless we act like we can. And so you have experience where you tried that, you kind of put the story to the back of your mind and you thought, okay, let's give this a go. And it was different to how you imagined it. And yet you want to revert to a story in relation to, and it's almost like when you said, life can't always be roses. It's almost like saying, what part of what I choose in my perfect day is a little bit of discomfort and pain because what?
Because it's not just my voice that's important. There's two of us. If I was living on my own, then I could make those decisions and they don't affect anybody else. But because there's two of us, and we make joint decisions about the bigger things.
Yes, but are you making a joint decision? It sounds like you're making a decision for him
Yes, and I suppose I've been scared because I tested the waters by saying maybe the animals go quite a while before we go to Spain. Instead of it all happening in the last month, you know, we pack up
Yeah.
animals going, it's all too much. But that was me being passive aggressive, really, because what I was wanting to say was, I'd really want to talk about them going. And he did push back on that. He said, no, I really like them. You know, we can do that closer to the time. And of course, I took that to mean, and that's not the question I had really in my head that I'm asking him, but I took that to mean, oh, well, that's a shut door, obviously. But I haven't ever vocalized to him that I'm not that enamored by them. I mean, I love Poe. Poe's my favorite, and I'll cry all day when he leaves because he's so beautiful. But they are just mouths to feed. I don't really have a emotional connection to them.
Yeah. Because all that you're working towards, and it is important. This word selfish is such a loaded word.
It is, isn't it?
You know, and attaching all of that negativity to it is just a historical thing. It's what other people have done. So you kind of jump in and go, ooh. It becomes a bit tainted, a bit unnecessary, a bit, ooh, I shouldn't really do that. But in your experience since we've been together, when you've done something that you might, another version of yourself might go, oh, hang on a minute, that's selfish. Is it really selfish that you are being honest about how you feel about something? You're not dictating what happens. You're simply being respectful of someone else enough that you're willing to share what you really feel with them.
Yeah, I hear you, you know, and this is what I would tell a client myself. When we had this conversation yesterday, people were calling it selfish to want to take a 15-minute break in the morning from their work. So we had a very similar, I know. And I was asked, should I take that 15 minutes? Should that 15 minutes come out of my lunchtime allocation? No. Anyway, so I'm familiar with all of this. I know the reasoning behind it lies with not having a voice growing up, without a doubt, and I'm still finding my voice. That's kind of like the last, I feel like, you know, you talk about that flower unfurling of the lotus or whatever, I kind of feel like that would be the last thing. If I found my voice and I stood firm in my voice and confident in my voice,
yeah,
I almost feel like everything else would fall into place. And actually, as I'm saying it, I think that is the truth. So I think, and lots of people grow up without a voice, but I'm not talking about them, I'm talking about me. It is valid. So I definitely didn't have a voice because my dad was super strict as a father, as a Christian, as a authority in the household. And of course now, older social media trolling, you know, now you certainly can't say anything like you could have maybe said before the internet came along, because now people will just send you death threats. So yes, I think that's what it's about. And that's probably why I'm going to have to do it, because I've just got to that stage where I've got to be authentic and I've got to start speaking up, really.
Yeah. And if we go back to what you said at the beginning, where you said, you know, I've been really busy, and you know, we talked about the idea of your perfect day and how you construct it, and you said, I haven't had the time to process any of that. So I clearly, I'm not in your head, I'm just throwing stuff out there. But if I interpret that to mean it's really important to you to have space to think about stuff, that could potentially be one of the foundations of your day is, yeah, I need somewhere to process, or some time, maybe. But there's another piece here, and I'm not saying, so that it sounds to me like that's really important to you. But it also sounds to me like, as you said, because you've grown up feeling like you shouldn't have a voice, that without realizing it, we get into the habit of creating a type of busyness in our heads that prevents us from thinking about the voice we might have if we gave ourselves permission to use it.
I hear you.
And so maybe what's to explore for you is, what would it be like if you had that space in almost every moment? You could think about stuff while you're at the garden centre moving pots, planning a program, rather than it having to be something you need to step away. And I'm not suggesting that, I'm just curious about.
No, I hear you. You are so on the money with this, because the last, not couple of days, today's only Tuesday. Wow.
I know it's supposed to be like that for me this week. I don't know why. Yeah.
So yesterday and up until 5 to 1, when I got ready to speak to you, I've had a handful of hours with nobody around, just me and the dogs at home. Today's workshop is at 4. Yesterday's was at 2. And I was conscious of, I felt very busy. I was busy, but I was getting nothing done. And my scheduling and stuff had fallen aside. I hadn't got up earlier to journal and meditate because I was really tired yesterday morning and this morning. So I slept in a bit, or not slept in, I stayed in bed a bit. And then the rest of the time, I feel like I've just been busy, and I'm telling myself I've been busy. I'm too busy, but I haven't actually achieved or done anything. I can't tell you what I did all of yesterday up until 2, or all of this morning. I did watch the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry interview this morning because I specifically wanted to watch that. So that's maybe a tick of something that I wanted to do. And maybe, yes, that busyness is just it's not productive, as a form of procrastination, of not thinking about
and we
that
do
needs
it.
to be thought about. Yeah,
We do it so easily. We talked before, haven't we, about, and I'm not necessarily used these words, about this period of menopause being a potential opportunity, which is how you're embracing it, that it can become a mirror almost for reflecting everything we've ever done and why we've ever done it and why the fuck are we still doing it.
yes.
And I think that's it, that we get so accustomed to doing it that this process, this journey that we're on is, and you've done so well, is a constant. I don't think it ever stops, to be honest, but
No.
a constant process of catching ourselves in the moment of a thought. That's where you start to make the change of going, what am I doing? Am I doing anything here? Or why, if you just check in sometimes with the thoughts that are spinning in your head, maybe even at the garden centre, are you, because you like it and you enjoy its physicality and you like being outside and it's an enjoyable job, but also I wonder how often, based on what you said, you're doing all that lovely stuff, but your head is, that bloody customer drove me nuts, but they just, do you know what I mean? That there's a dialogue that's taken you out.
Yeah, I have to really practice to be present, which is so weird because you're surrounded by all this beauty. I have to really practice to be present, and I've got better at catching myself when I'm feeling whatever it is I'm feeling. I ask myself now a few times during the day, not every day, but when I remember and I can do it, I ask myself what I'm feeling, and I realize I'm really I want to push that customer's head out the window because they're not wearing a mask or they're standing too close or whatever. And then, I just process it, as in I accept what I'm feeling, and then it usually just goes away. But it is easy a lot of the day because I'm working on my, you get instructions, but I'm working on my own a lot of the day, which is probably what I enjoy as well. But it is easy to get lost in just the busyness, and you're not even thinking anything. I could be using that time more constructively, basically.
Yeah.
But and I have used it in the past for like the talks and stuff. I'll like practice areas of the talks. If I'm doing like deadheading and something really easy, I'll practice it in my brain. But I think being present and catching myself in the moment to ask myself what the hell's going on. When I do it, I love it because it does stop me in my tracks. But it's almost like you need a little ping reminder to come up every now and then to remind yourself to do it.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, there was an exercise, and I've, we come up with these great things, and they work really well, and then life takes over, and we forget.
Yeah, then you miss a day, and then it all goes. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to share it anyway because it is a good one, and I need to remind myself as much as anyone. Yeah. But the idea of scaling, like we're familiar with that. We use it. We know what that means. There's a business, and I think they're called the Happiness Lab. And they have an app.
Heard of them.
Heard of them, yeah. If I'm getting the right business and I'm not mixing, crossing my wires here, I think the Happiness Lab, they have an app, and it's only ever sold into businesses, so it's not available anywhere and everywhere to Joe public. And it's really, really, really simple in its application of improving employee welfare. That's the idea of it. And I spoke to the guy that started it all, and he said, obviously they're tracking data all the time. But what they've noticed is something incredibly simple, which is part of the app. When you said you need prompting, that's what it does. It will prompt, and it'll pop up, and it will go, how are you feeling today? Why?
Yeah, love that.
The very act of asking the question increases people's happiness. The very act of thinking about the number increases people's happiness, which I always found really interesting. But one of the things he shared with me as well was not just using it the way we do it, but using it as a kind of a touch-based barometer through the day.
Yeah.
And that can be very useful as a tool to bring you back into, especially when you get a little bit about something, and you check in and go, what number do I feel like I'm at? And then, okay, why am I at that number? How do I be at a different number?
I can see how that would be 100% useful. And I've thought, and I have in the past, set little reminders on my phone to ping to make me stop and think. But because I'm trying not to use my phone much, and I'm switching it off.
Yeah.
So Chris over Christmas bought me, which is so lovely. I hadn't asked for it, but he's known I've always wanted one, a Tibetan singing bowl. Oh, nice. We have it in the lounge, and we're doing it less now, but for like a month and a half, we'd walk past and we would just, ping it every time we went past, because it's such a beautiful sound. And he recognizes it from my meditations, because that's how I start and I finish. And then for a while, every time I went past, I thought every time I see it and I pass that, I'm going to ping, and then I'm going to stop, not physically stop, but I'm going to stop and just ask myself, what is it I'm feeling?
Yeah.
And I suppose the fact that I'm at home, when we are at home, I'm at home a lot, and I pass by the lounge quite often. It just felt like overkill, ping, 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 the whole time. Yeah. But I like that sound. It connects me to my breathing and my meditation, and I think I need to place it in a location that is going to work for me, and maybe that will be my, maybe even just seeing it, but maybe I need to practice this more so that it's embedded.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
I do like it, and it's the same reason that I've really enjoyed that journal that you gave me when I started, and the second one, even though happiness is spelled incorrectly, and the questions at the beginning were fine. Now I would want them to be different, but it's really great to be asked a specific question that is going to improve your well-being or your state of mind or whatever. But I've realized as well, for me, just asking myself what I'm feeling, and I could be feeling tired, irritation, sadness, anger, nothing.
Yeah.
And just acknowledging that feeling, that is what I'm feeling, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Then almost like, so how can I be nice to myself about it? And it might just be having some water or breathing or just standing still for 2 minutes at the garden centre. And you know how often I don't stand and look at all the plants, because you're just with them. I can have my head down all day for 8 hours and go home. So yes, I agree. I think incorporating something, and I need to cement it. I need to practice it more.
Yeah.
It would be really useful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you tie it to the number, to also prompt the, not just what number am I at, what am I feeling now, but how would it become, if it were a 6, for example, how would it become a 7?
Yes, that has been a different twist on it with you, which I've never had before. I know about the number and stuff, but your take on, so what would, the next one, what would that look like, is wonderful, because that stops you just sort of resting where you are, but it keeps you moving forward. And that is super useful.
Yeah.
And that will be one of the things when I write down what you're hopefully going to make in your journal one day and produce on your own, is going to be one of those things, it's that moving forward really the whole time.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's remembering to do it. And some days we do it,
I talk about like the idea of today's conversation is around the perfect day, but of course the perfect day doesn't exist.
No, but, and that's life. But I think if you are conscious as you can be to working towards always, not beating yourself up about it. But it's really interesting the last few days, and just as we were talking now, I was wondering if it was after Friday's talk that I've kind of felt like just busy, like too busy to think. And I've been telling myself it's because I'm tired, and I was physically tired. And I did have the garden centre on, and of course Mother's Day on Sunday. Oh my God, there were like 40 million people on Saturday buying containers and hanging baskets for mums. So it was super busy. And then Chris was ill. He had diarrhea and vomiting. So the animals and dinner and everything came down to me. So I just had 2 days of, whereas I was thinking I'm going to work, come home. And normally he's brilliant and he has dinner ready for me and the fire's going and he knows I've been working hard. The poor guy had been so poorly.
Yeah.
So I came home and then did all the animals and did the dinner and stuff. But I kind of feel like that's still an excuse in a way. I think maybe all of that busyness is also just a form of procrastination, of not thinking about the stuff that I don't want to think about, that might be a difficult conversation, or for instance, example like the goats.
Yeah, because I mean, you've I've probably mentioned it, you probably know about it anyway, but decision fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so each and every time you come to the thought and revisit it and turn it around again, I'm not ready to deal with that. No, I'm not ready to deal with that. I'm not ready to deal with that. Actually, your brain is acting like it. Oh, are we dealing with it? We're dealing with it. And that's where the decision fatigue comes. So, so that contributes to your tiredness, because yes, you've got physical tiredness, but then you're creating a mental tiredness as well.
Yeah, because I definitely feel like there's something else going on and underlying. And I thought maybe it's because I need me time, and I haven't had me time. So last night I said I'm going to go up to bed and read early with a cup of tea and the dogs, and I did. And he was like, "Are you okay?" He said, "You're very quiet." And I said, "I've just reached he said, "Yeah, you've been really busy and you haven't had any time to yourself." And he doesn't need it. He doesn't need me time, but I need me time. And I haven't had any me time for, well, I think like proper me time for a while. I maybe haven't been making it as big a priority as it used to be.
Mm.
And I think that has to be one of my non-negotiables as well. I do need time to reflect. I do need my morning time to journal and to meditate and stuff. But the me time where I was going to say can do what I want, you know, where I can just read and have tea and the dogs and not have to feed anyone or do anything for anyone else. I
Yeah.
think that's super important for me as well. That's how I re-energize myself. Yeah, it kind of feels like there's a lot of stuff in there at the moment. I'm not too sure what's going on. Oh, good. It's growth. Definitely, it's growth. The uncomfortableness, I know from experience, is where the growth lies.
Yeah. You
I've just
feeling
been,
where are you feeling like your number is this week, given that you're
no, I'm not budging on that 9. I'm not giving it up.
good?
No,
No,
no.
that's
Fuck
brilliant.
that. Fuck that. I'm not giving it up. I'm solid on a lot of things, and I will fight it tooth and nail. You know, if you put a gun next to my head, then I'm going to fight for it. But just speaking to you today, I think this thing of stepping into my voice, you know, and it's not just relationships, it's work, it's in so many areas. Speaking up on something on social media, even, you know, a big example. Yeah.
Yeah.
All good.
Well, but that is, and I know I keep repeating this, but it needs to be repeated. That is wonderful, because what you're experiencing is you can be at that, the nat number is at the core of you. So even though they're, you know, when we talked about during the day, seeing what numbers, that's not your core number, that's just your kind of mood number. But your core number is sustainable, no matter, it isn't subject to the whims of life. It's something you are very much, you know, it's you. And I think,
Which I never knew till I met you and started doing this work. I mean, I don't know if you remember that conversation weeks ago. I thought that number was kind of attached to my mood and how my managing or coping or whatever. That number has never been stable, and now I've realized I can be really solid underneath, and shit can be going on, and you know, and maybe I'm not coping with what's going on, but it's not going to affect anymore. I'm not going to let it affect anymore now that I've found that solid 9.
yeah,
Even if stuff happens that completely unsettles me and I don't cope or I do cope or whatever, that's fine as well. But I'm not giving up that number.
yeah,
And that's really lovely. That's
yeah,
so lovely. It doesn't, that number, you know, it doesn't mean I'm less or I'm less worthy or I'm less capable or I'm not enough or all the things I used to tell myself. That still stands. Yeah,
yeah.
really, it's really very satisfying, very freeing to know that. And I've never known that before. I've never felt a 9 before, and I've never felt as solid and, you know, rooted as I do. So thank you.
Nice. Like, you're welcome, but I think you'll find that you've been doing the work. But I'll take that reflection just for a minute.
No, do. And it's funny how that 9 manifested yesterday. We were doing the Teams. They used Microsoft Teams for the workshop, and I had, with a full house, I had 10 people, and about 40 minutes into it, my screen went blank. I was just looking at a browser screen. They could see me, but I couldn't see them, and I couldn't get it back up again. I couldn't get the gallery back up again. So I said, all right, we'll leave it for a bit. Maybe I could sort stuff out. And I carried on talking. It was like really intense stuff. And they can see me and I'm just looking at a blank browser screen. So after about 10 minutes, I just said to them, no, I said, we need to stop. I said, I need to see you, you know, I need to see you. And a couple of people were a bit techie, so they were helping me a bit. And I was just calm throughout. I wasn't thinking, oh my God, like, oh my God. I was just like super calm, wasn't even in the slightest unnerved by what was happening. And then one of the girls rang me and she said, okay, maybe try this, this and that. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to restart. I said, can you just let everybody know we're going to have an earlier tea break, 10 minutes? Because I remembered restart takes 8 minutes because of you when I had to restart my computer. So I said 10 minutes and then we'll carry on. And she said, fine. And she wasn't stressed and I wasn't stressed. I went and put the kettle on, restarted my computer, and then off we went again.
You see how perfect is that?
It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Honestly, I cannot believe that was. It's funny how your narrative or story you tell yourself, you know, years ago, that would have been, oh, fucked up and I'm so unprofessional. And, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I've got to get back on. And this was really, I didn't even apologize. I just said, oh, you know, gremlins at work. And then we carried on. It wasn't even it was a non-issue.
Brilliant.
I'm so proud of myself. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And that, I think, comes from a solid 9.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just so lovely for you, but it also amplifies the power of what you're bringing to those workshops because you're demonstrating it.
Yes, I did think
Through being. Yeah. And that's way more powerful than anything we ever say.
I did think of that. I thought that this is, oh my God, this is potentially so stressful. Shit happens.
So I hope, I'm sure you'll do it anyway, but you store that story as something you deliver as part of what you might be doing in the future, that you capture that as another learning delivery.
Yeah, that probably will come up. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a very work-based,
very good work-based example, isn't it? It's very good. Maybe I'll incorporate it today. I've got 10 associates today, so we'll see how it goes this afternoon.
Is this this is the one that you were talking about on Friday, where that you know, you're not quite sure how to put them into different rooms?
Oh, so I had them on Friday. Friday, I had 3 partners and 4 associate directors.
So tell me, I'm interested.
It was so kudos to them. They were, especially the partners. I knew who the partners were. So when they came up on the screen, their names were with their faces. I knew who they were, and they were really open. One in particular, and a man, which is great. The fact that it's a man and a partner, and I don't know if it was more so because of him, like if maybe the partners hadn't spoken up, but they all knew each other. They had worked together before, and they were all just really lovely and pretty open. And because they were open, they allowed each other to be open, which was fantastic. And I just realized they're no different to anybody else. All the issues, the stress issues, are exactly the same. They might have bigger houses and more money, and they might have their own room that they've converted into their workstation, where a lot of the architects are working from their bedrooms, the younger ones. It just feels so bad for them.
Yeah.
But a lot of the same issues are there. And it was really lovely because one of the partners asked, you know, going forward, what could work? And I was able, because I always relay this via HR, but I was able to say to a partner directly with other people working that really it needs to come from the top. You know, it doesn't matter I do this on the side or they've got mental health first aiders, so the architect goes and speaks to someone quietly and then goes back to their desk. It needs to come from the top down that this is okay. And also, you know, we were talking about Zoom fatigue or just screen etiquette now that we're working from home, telling them that it's okay to have time away from your computer and to take breaks and stuff. So that was really good. But yeah, I wasn't worried, but I just thought, okay, I need to be prepared because it's going to be different. And actually, within a few minutes, it was fabulous. And I got good feedback from them, and I've been getting them. Thank you for the chat thing. So they write in the chat what they found helpful, what they're going to take away with them, and then I've managed to save it, so it is on the chat stream or whatever, so I can read it later and really go through it. It's really useful.
Brilliant.
But yeah, it's been really good. There haven't been really a lot of surprising things that have come out of the stress, and a lot of these issues were there before COVID anyway. I mean, I've been dealing with architects for years, and because of the industry, it's super stressful. So a lot of it has been there for a long time anyway, but it is about people finding their voice, which is funny, finding their voice. And I think this is giving them the opportunity to maybe be a bit firmer about saying no, and I spoke about ownership, really, that they need to do that, to take hold of their time and the way they manage their diaries and stuff. That's a long answer to your question, but yeah, it was good. And today's associate, so that's one level down from the associate directors. And I had 6, and I've had another 3 join this morning. So there's going to be 9 people.
Well done, you. Excellent. So it's great. And I think, I know we said we talked about the perfect day, but I can tell that if this probably needed to be what it is today, which is more conversational, it's about exploring things, because you'll figure out as we go, and there is no finite perfect day. But
no,
I just want to come back to the relationship thing with the compromise that you said right at the beginning. I would choose my words carefully here. The thing with what we can tell ourselves about compromise is we can sometimes end up becoming further from one another and further from any truth by practicing what we perceive as compromise, because it relates to us creating that story about what the other person thinks, feels, does, and then pre-adjusting what we will say or do based on what we've predicted that they will say or do. And of course, that suggests that we're really cool at being mind readers, which we're not. We think we know people so well, but we don't, because honestly, if we don't even know ourselves,
how are we going to know?
How the hell? Yeah. And so really, my view is, if we come back to the selfish thing, because we kind of gone all the way around. What is that selfish thing again? I remember now. It's merely getting clearer with ourselves about, hang on, if I have my voice, if I create my day, if things are how I'd like them to be in my ideal world, what do they look like, so that I can get honest with me? And then you can come from a place of sharing what you've discovered about being honest with yourself, with no agenda about an expected outcome, and here's a demand, because we kind of misassociate compromise with ultimatums and agendas. Whereas really what a compromise is if we are clear enough in ourselves about what we want, or doing our best to do that, we're just doing our best. And we give the other person an opportunity to try and figure out for themselves what's right for them. Then the compromise merely comes from going, oh, okay, you think this, I think that. Oh, interesting. Right. What's the best way through this then? Which doesn't need to be a place of conflict or both of you not really feeling comfortable, because that's the source of you know, driving the number down from 9 into,
Absolutely.
and that's all I meant. It's not, you know, selfishness doesn't mean I just do my own bloody thing, I don't give a toss what you do.
No, no, of course not. And just as you were talking, I was thinking of, you know, my upbringing, and of course this makes so much sense, really, that we never, none of us had a voice, really. And if we did say something, we were, I mean, it took me ages, years before I was comfortable with crying or being upset or whatever, because, you know, if we had done that growing up, my dad's first response would be, what are you crying about? You want hiding? You know, should I give you another hiding or something to cry? So I get where the voice thing comes from, and I've always, and subconsciously, I suppose, I've always thought it's confrontational. And, you know, you've never been able to ask for what you want, or your needs are not important. And of course I realize as an adult that they are important. I want Chris's needs and wants to be met as well. And I, you know, and I fight for his wants and needs because it's really important, and I see that. So, but yeah, it's the narrative, it's the story we tell ourselves, and really it's just stepping into it. It's moving past that, I want to call it fear almost. It's moving past that uncomfortableness, or stepping into the uncomfortableness, and taking it from there, see what happens. Because I'm deciding, aren't I? I'm deciding all the time what the pushback or what's going to happen, so I'm not speaking up.
Yeah, and also there's an element of that where it's almost like you're saying, no, I need to make the decisions here, you can't make them. Which is not your intention, but could, it's like, no, I'm the only one here who can make a decent decision. I don't need to involve you in this. I'll work it out and then I'll let you know when I've sorted it.
I want to be able to talk about things. We do talk about things, but I know, because I know I don't speak up half as much as I'd like to. I mean, he'd be really shocked to hear that, because he always teases me. He says, you're such a strong, empowered woman. And he thinks I am, which I am, but I know that I still don't speak up as much as I would like to speak up.
I'm really glad.
I've always told myself it's because I'm easy and I can compromise, and I'm more easygoing than what he is. I mean, for him, things have to be a certain way. For me, I can take it or leave it. But actually, that take it or leave it is probably costing me.
Yeah. If I would consider after this call that word compromise and what belief is lying underneath that, you know, does compromise really mean negate my needs?
Yeah, which is not what the word means.
No. And I'm really glad you mentioned how he perceives you, because that was going to be my final question, really, was when you got together, who were you then? Who was it that he wanted to be with?
A strong, empowered warrior.
So if you stop being that because you start negating your needs, you're not actually even being the person that he clearly was completely drawn to.
And I know that happened with my previous partner as well. I think I morphed into, I was still strong, but I think I morphed into who I thought I ought to be, almost. I mean, that relationship wouldn't have lasted a day if I had, right from the beginning, said what I wanted. I wonder if it's a gender thing as well, because it's a story that I hear a lot of, you going to a new relationship. And I think women are generally easier and more laid back anyway. So you kind of, And I know, okay, let me speak for myself. You compromise along the way because you think at some stage you're going to get your turn. You know, you give up what's really important because I'm doing this for them. And at some stage they'll turn around and say, okay, now we're going to do what you want to do. And of course that day never comes. And why would it? Because you've set the precedent for this is how it is. And you've never once said that you want something different. So I need to bring that to the fore of my mind because I think that's what happened with Darko, with my previous partner. I mean, we had good times. I don't regret any of it, but you know, in hindsight, I certainly didn't. I wasn't authentic. I wasn't true to myself, and I do want to be.
And it sounds to me like Chris is, you know, it takes a strong man, given what you said about that whole gender difference, which does sadly still exist. In ways we'd prefer it not to, that we negate our needs in favour of theirs. It takes a strong man to choose to be in a relationship with a woman who he perceives as strong.
Yeah.
Whatever you think about yourself, if that's his perception of who you are, then to him, that is who you are.
Sometimes he says to me, I'm a little bit scared of you. And I just say, good.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, no, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to. I'm like, no, it's good. Be on your toes, you know, and I tease him. But and I think he really means it. You know, sometimes he's a bit scared of me, and that's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, so he's never really going to be freaked out at you going, do you know what? The goats drive me nuts. Here's how I feel about them. As long as you don't turn it into, and here's the plan I've drawn up for what we do, because then that is a bit presumptuous. And I think that's where maybe that's what you're looking for in terms of compromises. That's the point at which you enter the conversation and go, okay, here's what I think, here's what I feel, just being you, the version of you he expects, the version of you really are, with a voice, empowered, capable, and you know, and really smart. I mean, for goodness sake, you negotiate with clients. What is? It's not
husbands are far easier. Well, I don't know. I've only ever had one, but yeah, I think they're a little bit easier. Yeah, that's quite nice to be reminded because he does think of me as, you know, strong, empowered. He's always calling me a strong, empowered lesbian. I don't know why I need to be a lesbian in order to be a strong, empowered woman, but and I don't know where that comes from. But it does make me giggle, and I know he thinks that, so he would be pretty shocked.
Yeah. I think that's quite important. So I think from today, you do what you don't want to like, I hope. But you know, one of the things you can perhaps do when you think about how do I construct my perfect day, it isn't just about the things, you know, like an hour here or an hour there. It's potentially about the way I express myself. So it's less tangible, less put them in a box, can't put it in a diary kind of things. And I think that's where we slip up most often. We want to put it in, you know, fire.
Yes, I like things, yeah.
Because we get that, but actually your perfect day doesn't just come from the things that are in it. It comes from how you travel through it.
Yeah.
So how do you want to travel through your day is perhaps what you want to be focused on.
That's pretty cool. How do you want to travel through your day? I like that.
I want to share something with you, so I'm going to just put it in the chat.
Google review. What the fuck? I did it again.
I don't know what's going on. I don't understand at all.
And I hit post because I thought maybe I didn't do that on the last one because the original one came up. So I thought, oh, it says post at the bottom. I thought, you know, I'm sure I had post, but I'm not going to post that one. I'll delete that one, replace it with a new one because this was further down the line.
Yeah.
I made sure as hell I hit post. It said, thank you, it's gone, I've received it.
I don't understand.
I don't understand what's going on. Have you asked other people? Has anybody else put reviews on that you can? Is it just happening to me that you're not getting that?
So, and some I didn't even know they were coming, which is obviously lovely. So it's clearly working sometimes, but you know.
I wonder if there's a different link you can send me, or maybe, because that link, maybe I just need to go onto your website. Can I leave a review directly on the website? But then it's still not a Google review.
My business rather than on the website. But if you've got time after our next session, you know, if you've got maybe 5 minutes at the end, if you don't mind, maybe we can both kind of share screens and
see
what's going on. That'd be really useful.
I did it yesterday. I don't know why it's doing it again.
Well, honestly, I'm sorry to keep asking you because it's just another thing.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
And I knew how tired and busy you were. Anyway. Right, what I want to share, because I think you'll love it. Have you heard of Byron Katie?
Yeah.
So
I've got one of her books.
Okay, I'm not going to do any more then. That was all I was going to mention, was Byron Katie.
Why? What about Byron Katie? Now you have to complete the sentence.
Just in what she calls the work, you know, which in my version of things is the story we tell ourselves. But I discovered her really recently. I didn't know who she was. My coach introduced me to her. But I've discovered she's got stuff all over YouTube. You know, there's a heap of material you can access, which is really quite helpful with some of those stories that we buy into about whatever.
That's good. I might get her book out again. I remember a few years ago, I had issues with my elder brother. I was really struggling with our relationship, and I used her book. I sat down and sort of rewrote the story about him, and it was really helpful. But I think now, maybe because of the work we're doing, it might be a really good idea to revisit.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm planning to go on one. I haven't gone on one yet, but you can register for Zoom calls that I don't really know what they are yet, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah,
might be fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay. There was something else I was going to say. How many are we? Have we got 2 weeks left? I can't remember. We're so near the end, I think. And I wanted to check, I wanted to make sure I knew when our final one is. And I think it's soon.
The final one is after Easter, because we've got Easter that's going to mean we'll lose one of our Fridays, and the final one isn't until 16th of April.
Yay. Okay. Yeah, I had it done as the 9th. So okay. Let me put that in. Have you heard from those other women? Have they?
It's just a weird one. One is kind of I'm not even sure whether I offered her a kind of okay, let's do a deal on, let's just see how you like it, you know, because she's so well, you know, because you had a little
I know.
We'll see. I'm not sure whether she needs to really step up to the whole, she's still in that place of wanting to control everything. And I went, well, this isn't going to work. You can't, you know, like when she, oh no, she's already decided I'll be in a bad place on Thursday at 4 o'clock kind of a mindset.
Yeah, she might not be ready for it yet.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about that one. And the other one was just completely weird. Like, yes, wants to do it. There was not a blink, not a bat of an eyelid about whether she was going to do it or not do it, how much the money was, nothing. And then come Monday, oh, I haven't got enough money. I mean, there wasn't, I listened back to the recording. I thought there wasn't even a glimmer.
Yeah, she's starting stuff, isn't it? It's that thing that we all do, the thing about the 5-second rule. I told you, you've got to like do it and decide and go for it. Otherwise, when you've got time to think, she's basically talked herself out of
else.
It.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought so.
That's fine. Somebody like that was so certain in the beginning, she's just going to suffer a little bit more, and then she'll swing around again. She'll come around again.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's really sad because, I mean, she was saying, I can't live like this. I can't live like this. And yet by Monday, I'm okay living like this. Keeps an extra couple of grand in the bank.
She very soon, you know, by today or tomorrow, she won't be. And I've got a feeling you'll hear back from her. She'll swing round again, I'm sure.
I hope so.
She obviously wants it, but you know, it's for people who aren't used to it, maybe this kind of stuff. And also it's committing to somebody you don't know. You know, it is a big leap of faith.
It is.
You know, it's somebody on the end of a Zoom call or the internet who you don't know, who, you know, you've read reviews, but nobody you know has done it. It's a big leap of faith that this is what's going to work for you. I mean, I was lucky in a sense because I just, you know, we obviously get on and just the language you use, that stuff, it's stuff that I'm used to. Anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm sure she'll swing around.
Well, let's hope so. And if not, then it wasn't meant to be and it doesn't matter. But just quickly, I just want to share this with you because I've always told you I don't really like Facebook. And at some point, well, I was talking to someone yesterday who I'm going to co-author my next book with. And he was telling me about a platform off Facebook. So it's a platform I would have to pay for. But it's not Facebook, so it doesn't work that way. If you go in and you're in that community, you're just in that community. You're not, you know, missing things because Facebook decides that it doesn't want to send you stuff and vice versa. I was thinking of turning that into a little paid for group, but not charging a lot of money for it. So it becomes a membership group that people may pay, I don't know, 50 or maybe less, maybe £35 a month, and there's just maybe one mindset call and, you know, maybe a book review of some sort. So I'm thinking of doing that. So I'll be interested in your views, not necessarily now, but. Yeah,
definitely. I would like to know what the platform is or what it's called. I can look it up and do a bit of a.
Yeah, bear with me a second because I knew I wouldn't remember. And I'm sure I've got it open here somewhere.
Because the only other Facebook group I belong to is this woman in the States that I've told you about, and I know she's keen to get off Facebook. And all of us, I don't use Facebook. I only use Facebook to do this.
Oh, here we go. Right, it's called Mighty Networks.
Mighty. Okay.
I'll hang on a second. I'll send you the link.
I'll have a look at them. Yeah, that's great because I mean we'll speak about that as well closer to the end. But I definitely want, and I was thinking of it this morning. I definitely want sort of some continuation when we come to the end of my 12 week. So yeah, and I wasn't sure how I wanted that to look like, whether I wanted a one-to-one or just group stuff or whatever. I haven't thought about what I want or what I need, but I know that I definitely want continuation.
It's
helpful.
That would be great. And I think it'd be something that if I have something like this, which is kind of very entry level, it means people in it are serious about wanting help, but it's not so expensive. But it also gives you you could dip in, dip out. You know, you might think, oh, I just do this group for now, and then another time you want one-to-one, but it gives you a bridge.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a definite good idea, and I like the fact that it's not on Facebook. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
we don't like Facebook. Nobody likes Facebook. Everybody wants off Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. They control far too much. I just put the link in the chat box in case you want it.
All right, cool. Thank you. I will have a look.
I'll let you say.
And I've got to take the dogs. Hello, Bubbles. You've been so quiet. Come say hello. I'm going to take them to Dad, and Dad is going to keep them and only come home at 6 o'clock. Come say hello.
Nice. Well, I hope you're. Well, I don't need to hope. Your workshop.
This is baby Jesus.
I can't believe you call a dog Jesus.
I know, baby Jesus. And Simmons, hang on, we also want to say hello to Shirley.
What's the other one called?
What's
this one called?
Mr. Simmons.
Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, and he is such a fucking princess. Sometimes you give him a treat and he just looks at you, and then you have to break off a tiny little piece and give it to him, and then he
Where did
chews on it.
the idea for the name Mr. Simmons and
Oh, so Gene Simmons, he's named after Gene Simmons. And baby Jesus, when I met Chris, I told him I used to have a hairdresser in Camden in North London, and he had a really, really old cat, and the cat's name was Jesus. And the cat was ill, so I got used to, for about a year, asking how's Jesus, and we'd talk about the cat. I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And he said, next time, the next dog I get, I'm going to call him Jesus. And then about 4 or 5 months into our relationship, he became available. And Chris just said, meet baby Jesus.
Oh,
you know, for the first year, I was too nervous to tell my mum because she's a staunch Christian. So we just called him. I said, we call him the little one, Mama, because he was so little. So we called him the little one. But now she knows, and she loves it. She thinks it's the funniest thing, and she asks, how's baby Jesus? And I think she just likes shocking the old ladies that live in the care home with her.
Right. All right. Well, have a restful few days.
From Friday. After we speak on Friday, it's going to be...
Well, don't postpone it. Find some way.
No, that's true. That's true. I'm going to go drop off the dogs, and then I'm going to chill a bit before. I've got time. 4 o'clock's a long way away.
Yeah, and honest to God, if you're not being productive, just drop the story about you need to be doing something. Just get out. Just get out.
Yeah, because I was thinking, oh my God, I've got all this time and I could really do pottery, and I'm knackered. I'm physically,
just
and emotionally. Yeah,
is the sun out?
Walk. No, it's fucking growing shit. But I could go sit outside with a cup of tea and look at the chickens. They always make me happy. So
that sounds good. All right.
That's pretty good. All right. Thank you. Have a good 3 days till I speak to you. It's not even a week.
Yeah, you
I'll
too.
see you on Friday.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
Bye.
Thanks, Shirley. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.